Welcome to the Financial Freedom Mastermind Group podcast. Here we're all about breaking free from the 40 to 50-year work grind and accelerating our journey towards financial freedom. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern as we explore different types of investments that can fast-track your path to financial independence. We serve as a hub for connecting with fellow members during our sessions so you can share successes, ask questions, and keep the momentum going.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Niyi Adewole, host of the Akaba Home Financial Freedom Mastermind Group, and I'm super excited to be joining you here today with Dr. Jay Zigmont, who is a PhD and certified financial planner, a life and business coach who specializes in financial planning for those who are child-free or permanently childless. While most financial advice treats parenthood as a default, Dr. J has created a life and financial planning system that centers around the unique needs of those whose futures do not include kids. Dr. J, I appreciate you for joining us tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And I know that our audience is going to be excited to kind of dig into this, and I am too. Just even the title of it, right? Child-free wealth, and kind of your whole persona has really pulled this thing together. And so how did you even get into this work? What were you doing before you moved into kind of coaching others through this?
Yeah, so my wife and I are both PhDs and we're child free. And my background is actually in adult learning and coaching, executive coaching, career coaching, life coaching, financial coaching, all that. And what you find out is, by the way, people pay more for financial coaching than life coaching, just kind of how it works. And I went to become a CFP, and never once was there a mention in any of the literature of being child free. And I kind of started on this path of saying, are me and my wife weird? Now, by the way, we are weird. Two PhDs in the same house is automatically weird. It is. But and we're weird in general. And come to find out, a recent study out of Michigan found that about 25% of their population is child-free or permanently childless. So we're talking about 25% of the U.S. that the financial literature just ignores. And just treats like everybody else. And that's interesting to me, at least.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a big figure, right? It's not something that we think about, because when you see the quote unquote, American dream, it's always the white picket fence, 2-3 kids and kind of the single family house. But it's true. There's a lot of people that do not want to go down that kind of standard pathway. And how can we help those individuals still achieve their version of that dream?
Absolutely. I call it, flipping the life script and saying, hey, the standard life script says you get married, you have kids, you have blah, blah, blah. I'm going, okay, being child-free means you can rethink 2.5 kids, a house, and a white picket fence. It's just different life. And it's not bad. It's not good. It's just different.
True. And to that point, when you talk about even from a financial picture, most of the people out there are kind of coaching us through, hey, here's how you do a 529 plan, and here's how you kind of save for kids. But how does not factoring in that piece change up your finances? What do you need to think about, and how are you kind of shifting the focus there?
Yeah, it changes just about everything, and we don't have enough time for that. But let's start at the end. And the reality check is most child-free folks don't have a goal of passing on money to another generation. So they can embrace, there's a book called Die with Zero, saying, hey, I'm going to spend and give my money across my life, which completely changes the trajectory of your net worth. If you think about it, most of the stuff, the standard literature says, yep, you just keep saving. That way you can pass it on and you retire and you do your thing. Child-free folks get a different choice. The way we say it is living a life of child-free wealth means you have the time, money, and freedom to do what you enjoy. Doesn't mean you're automatically rich. Not having kids doesn't money just come down from up above. The actual numbers, if you look at net worth of adults over 55, single childless women are the top winner, but only by a couple grand over fathers. So it's not even enough for statistically to make a difference. But part of that's because growing a giant net worth is not a goal.
True. I didn't even think about it like that. When we talk about quote unquote generational wealth, it really is about saving as much as you can and kind of passing that thing down. But this does shift that goal a bit. But let me ask you this, and this is kind of a hard hitting question. Who takes care of you when you get older, right? Because that's one of the things that, you kind of have kids and things of that nature for.
Yep. And I get this question every time, and I have a kind of love-hate thing going on with this question. I hate it because of what it implies, but I love it because it gives you opportunity to talk finances. But here's the data. In adults over 55, this is per the US Census, they looked at what percentage get any support from their family financially. They found that for childless adults, 2.5% get any financial support from their family. So that's like nothing. In the same subset, they looked at adults over 55 in the US. Of parents, 1.5% got any support from their family. So when people ask the question, well, who's going to take care of you when you're older? What I don't like about the question is that implies that you're expecting others to take care of you, usually your kids. Interestingly enough, child-free folks tend to be the ones that are expected to take care of their parents because you get the, well, you don't have kids, so you can take care of mom type routine. But that's all assumptions that, let's be real, it's not true. I mean, I worked as a paramedic, came out of healthcare and academia, and if you walk into a nursing home, you go and see how many people are getting visited by their family. It is, besides a holiday, it is a sad, sad situation. So the difference is, as child-free people, we know we have to handle it. My goal with my clients is by your mid-40s to have a plan for your long-term care. You know what? Parents need to do the same thing. Because if you don't, you're going to have a Medicaid home, or that's where elder abuse comes in and people spending your money.
That's 100% true. It almost helps that you're eliminating kind of that thing that you have in the back of your mind. It's almost like, I forget the full saying, but the one army general who's like, hey, we're going to go into this war and we're going to burn the ships, right? He didn't give a second option, so now you have to go forward, right? And so you can fight with a little bit more energy because there's no option for retreat. On the same token, it's almost like when you talk about even like Social Security benefits, right? I'm of the thought that it's probably not going to be there by the time I retire, and by the time most of us retire. But the fact that it's still quote unquote there right now kind of lets you take it easy in certain categories where if they just said, hey, it's not going to be there, now you've got to go do it on your own. So I like that, thinking kind of, hey, let me get it on my own. And then if any family help comes in, that's just an added bonus.
Absolutely. And that's probably what everybody should do. The problem is long-term care is stupid expensive. So give you some numbers. Right now in the US, for 1 year in a skilled nursing facility, it's $108,000 a year. It's cheaper to live on a cruise ship year round. Men will spend 2.2 years in long-term care and women 3.7 years. So do the math on that. That is huge numbers. And that's today dollars. Now that's growing at 5% compound inflation. I'm 45. If I'm going into care at 40 years, could be $1 million. And if you don't have a plan for it, what's going to happen is you're going to have a Medicaid, because Medicare does not cover long-term care. And to get on Medicaid, you have to spend through everything you got. That's not a good plan to me.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So what do you recommend for those folks? Like, what type of things are you pushing them toward to prepare to take care of themselves when the time comes?
Yeah, I mean, reality check is when you get to kind of mid-40s, you need to decide if you're going to pay for your own long-term care or not. There's kind of a general rule. And it's rough. But if you've got about $500,000 in assets to about $3 million, you can afford long-term care insurance. If you got less than $500,000, you're going to up on Medicaid. If you got more than $3 million, you probably can pay for it out of pocket. But you have to set aside the money just for that. And that's one of those things. So if you want to set aside the money, if it's just you're a man, 2.2 years, you got to set aside about $250,000 right now and make sure it grows by more than 5% every year to be comfortable. And that's on average. Well, if you've got any history of dementia, Alzheimer's, all that in your family, it's going to be a whole lot more expensive.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. That's crazy. And it's one of those things that it's you definitely got to start planning for that future now. It's very easy to kind of put that off and put it off, say, hey, I'm good today. But if you don't start investing today, it's not going to snowball into something that can help you tomorrow. Right. So I know that me and a lot of the people within this group are fans of things like HSA, right? Health spending accounts where you can put aside money when you're healthy and have it kind of compound over time and be able to be used later in life. Is that one of the things that you look into as well? Or is it more like, hey, let's invest in 401ks, things of that nature that will kind of grow over time?
So HSAs are great because of the triple tax benefit, but do the math. As a single person, you put, little, $3,500, $3,600, something like that away. That's a long way between $3,600 and $108,000 a year. All right. So you'd have to be saving for a long time. That's the problem. If you're going to put aside the money, yeah, we can do the tax planning. I mean, my argument with people is always investing could be very easy. Tax planning is a challenge. And figuring that out for you is going to make a difference. I think one of the challenges with long-term care is nobody can tell me when are going to need it. So that's actually where I tend to have people at least price out long-term care insurance to pass the risk to someone else. And there's some tax benefits depending on how you do it.
True, true. Do you mind diving into some of those tax benefits? Because this is something that I never actually kind of focused on, right? I used to work in the healthcare space for a company that's a Fortune 500 healthcare company. And we had those options, right, for the long-term care. But, being young in the career, you just kind of skip over that piece. You're like, oh, I think I'm good on that. But can you describe some of the benefits that you can get from that, from a tax perspective?
I think, look at it this way. If you use your HSA, you can actually use your HSA to pay premiums for long-term care up to certain limits, but just go with it in general. So that is a bonus. But the other part of it is, so if I buy a insurance product, and I don't like insurance in general, I'm an advice-only financial planner. I don't sell any products, so I can bash insurance if I want. I'm not making money on long-term care or anything. I don't make any money on that. But if I buy that product, that benefit is coming out tax-free. I'm buying an insurance. It's growing effectively because you can actually get a compound rider on it, and then it comes out tax-free. If I put that in my brokerage account and then I'm going to use that to pay my long-term care, I got to pay taxes on it. My 401k, same thing. Just a question of when I'm paying taxes. So there is a balancing act that occurs there, and it's a question of risk. Do you want to keep, a $500,000 risk of long-term care or not? And I think that the even scarier one, if you really think it through, is who's going to pay for your parents' long-term care? Are you okay with them being in a not so nice home, or are you going to just ignore them, or are you going to pay for it yourself? Now, huge money. Now, that being said, when you had that opportunity to buy long-term care 20 years ago or 10 years ago, that was a whole lot better, cheaper prices. Probably should have done that, but nothing we can do to go back in time.
This is true. This is true. But you can take lessons from back then and realize it's only going to get more expensive and start now. And so you mentioned something a little bit earlier that you're an advice-only certified financial planner. How does that compare to kind of the normal CFPs that we kind of see out in the world that are pitching products, things of that nature? What makes you different?
Yeah, so the difference is with an advice-only financial planner, you pay either on an hourly retainer basis or a project. I happen to have a monthly subscription or hourly options, but I still nothing, just my time. And if you go to like an AUM advisor, they're charging you a percentage of your assets. Well, if you're going to try to die with zero and their goal is to grow your assets, there's actually a conflict there. So with an advice only, you pay me just like you would your CPA. Pay me when you need me, get rid of me when you don't. That's the difference. And I think what happens is people think about, I'm just going to give them my assets, they're going to manage it. No, that's one option. That's just one of many. And what I'm finding is, especially with the younger generations, they don't want to be paying 1% of their assets for the rest of their life for them to, babysit them. I would rather focus on helping people learn how to do it themselves, get them in a good place. They go off and they come back when they need me. I charge $500 a month. That's my monthly subscription. The way I say it is, if you're not getting $500 value, I want you to fire me. That's it.
I love that. I love that because a lot of, even when you look at insurance and things of that nature, a lot of it's tied to like dollars coming into certain products. Like, hey, I need to push you toward this way so that I can get a commission on this. And hey, I need to move your assets into this stock so that I can get a commission on this. And so the fact that you're actually giving out real advice, and the only benefit and the main benefit to the client is actually being able to grow their wealth and kind of see what works best for them. There's no products involved is a major benefit. And so,
and let me give you an example of this. So for child-free folks, life insurance is not really a big deal, because who are going to pass it to? Like, if you're single, well, there's nobody to pass it to. And if you're in a couple and you both work, probably don't need life insurance. But if you go to the insurance, I had somebody for my podcast and they went to buy insurance. They were looking for disability insurance. That's actually more important for child-free folks. And they walked out with 6 life insurance quotes. Why? Because the person they met with makes a commission selling life insurance, makes nothing on disability. This is the reality check. Unfortunately, anyone out there can call themselves a financial advisor. There's no regulations on that. And you could just be selling insurance and calling yourself a financial advisor. Do you have the client's best interest in your mind? I don't know. It'd be like going to your doctor and he gets a cutback for every script he puts out. I wouldn't go to that doctor.
No, No, and that's a great analogy. It's true. It's true. And just for a little bit of context, right? Because I know that you advise a lot of individuals. You have your podcast. You've written books, which is pretty incredible. But taking it back a little bit and switching gears, I read a story that you made 1 million at 21, and then it was all gone by 25. Do you mind digging into some of those details
Yeah.
and kind of what happened here?
Okay, so I'm going to age myself now because I'm getting old. But yeah, this was late 90s, the .com world. I actually, my father still to this day thinks I'm crazy. At 18, I put my resume out on one of those weird sites that has resumes on them. In the 90s, that was surprising, and this guy called me and offered me a job down in New York City. I went actually worked for a couple .com firms before the .com bust and won one IPO. Made my first million by the time I was 21. Here's the thing. You give $1 million to a 21-year-old, I'm going to do some dumb stuff with it. I'm willing to admit it. I paid off some of my parents' house, my sister's school. I did some good stuff with it. I also bought a Hummer. Now, I'm not talking the new ones. Like, I'm talking original Arnold Schwarzenegger Hummer, in cash.
So it wasn't electric, right?
No, I'm talking the real old school, like the military, they painted over and called it a civilian. That was fun. I joke about it, but it's true. Earned it by 21, spent it by 25. And part of that was just my family. I grew up broke. Never learned how to manage money. The only thing they taught me in high school was how to balance a checkbook, which is a giant waste of time. In hindsight, probably a lot of things I should have learned and could have, but you know what? Nothing you can do. The only thing I can do now is help people learn these mistakes before they make them. And I have people come to me and like, oh, I'm worried I'm going to be judged, by a CFP or whatever. I'm like, dude, if you can beat my mistakes, go right ahead. Like, and most people are like, oh, I don't think I can. All right, well, then we're all good. We all do stupid stuff. We pay the stupid tax and move forward.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that helped you kind of on your journey of understanding even what to do with your money. So coming out of that, what was some of the first things that you did to start growing your wealth and kind of building your empire?
Yeah, I actually, coming out of that, I went to school. So I didn't go to college at 18. I went to work. And I didn't come back to school until about mid-20s. And I went from no degree to a PhD in 5.5 years. I finished my bachelor's in 9 months. And the entire thing cost me less than $9,000. Now, that sounds crazy, but it's possible. It's still possible now. It's just I was working as a medic at the time, busting my butt because I wanted to learn how to help people learn. Now, I'll be honest, it wasn't about finance at the time. It was about healthcare and a few other things. And I went into healthcare, and you find out in healthcare that everything in healthcare is about finance. It's kind of one of those like rude awakenings. You go there to help patients, but you realize, no, it's about finance. And I was like, oh, let's say this isn't probably for me. And it's one of those kind of winding paths. And from a personal standpoint, so I married my wife, and the aha moment was we actually paid off her car. And I went, you can pay off a car? Like, I didn't realize it. Like, we just paid monthly and just because I was one of those people who was getting a new car every 2 years or 18 months and just rolling it over and the payment all looked the same. I was like, wow, you could pay off a car. Then I started looking at some of the Dave Ramsey of the world of, how do you get out of debt and all that. I realized, well, I can learn this financial stuff that I don't know. And it sounds very simple, but people like myself, look at, the kind of head down, just ignoring what's going around, head in the sand saying, yeah, I'll never get out of debt. Got out of debt and all of a sudden everything else looks good. Yeah, I joke, but making the second million is a little harder than the first one was because the first one just happened in an IPO. That's okay. But here's the thing. The second one's not going to disappear. The second one, now I'm going to do some good stuff rather than making mistakes. And my hope now is just that I can help people learn how to do this stuff in a safe environment where they go, yep, I messed up. And I go, yep, okay, here's how we fix it. And we can just move forward and make those improvements. I mean, the way they say it is in finance, 80% of your success is related to your behaviors, your thoughts and your mindsets around money. 20% is the actual numbers. But you know what? If you go online, most people are talking about the numbers. If you go to most financial planners, they're talking about the numbers. No, I'm talking about the behaviors. When I meet with people, I meet with them every month. We meet for an hour. We work on one or two things on shifting their mindset around money, shifting their approach to it. For child-free folks, forget FIRE. Financial independence, retire early. They don't care about that. They want to do what we call FILE, financial independence, live early. It's a dimmer switch for work. Is that right? Getting that right balance, movement. That's all a mindset shift. And at the same time, I have to like unprogram all the standard life script that says, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do that, and make a plan that fits them. And it's a challenge to get clients to that thing, but it is so rewarding when you can see somebody go, all right, I'm going to take control of my money. I'm going to change my mindset and I'm going to grow.
Wow. No, that's incredible. That's kind of what we're all about, right? Which is being able to, like you said, live early, whether you're looking to retire early, quote unquote, or just downgrade a bit from the hustle and bustle every single day at the W-2 to where you got to work overtime and all this other stuff and really be able to enjoy life because we only get one on this earth. And so to that point, when you're mentoring and kind of coaching these clients, on average, how long does it take? How many sessions, how many months for somebody to reach that epiphany? Like, hey, okay, I need to make some changes here.
It's funny. I have two groups, let's call it that. I have some people that are with me that are 6-7 months, and I have people that are with me forever. And the most amazing ones are the people, mid 30s, mid 40s, got a little bit of money, no debt. We go through their numbers and they're like, hey, I'd love to do X, Y, Z, whatever it is in their life. And I'll go through their numbers and I'm like, cool, let's do it. They're like, huh? And one of my co-hosts, she works with me, Bree, she's actually started tracking how many people I tell to quit their job. Because like, if you're miserable, one of my standard things is, okay, you get 100 grand for that job and you're miserable. So what you just told me is for 100 grand, you're willing to be miserable. And they'll go, well, no, that's not what I mean. I'm like, well, that's what you're doing. And we'll make the change. And what I find is it takes 2 or 3 months before they even realize, that, oh, yeah, you know what? Maybe I am okay financially. Then the aha moment hits. And then I'm like, okay, what do you want to do with it? And then like, there's this moment of, I don't know. Because you run out of like script. The script says you go to work, you put in your 40 hours, you retire, all this stuff. But what do you really want to do with your life? What do you want to be when you grow up? It has nothing to do with age. It's just kind of what do you want to do with the next 40 years of your life? And it's like, well, I never realized I had an option. All right, let's dig in. And that's that moment that makes that shift. I had somebody couple, both working. She was working at a state job, pension, been there for a decade, nice stable job, but not really going anywhere. Ends up taking a sabbatical, takes 6 months off, find herself. In that time period, she writes her first novel, and now she's working on getting it published. She is happier than she's ever been in life. Now, is she going to make money as an author? I have no clue. Like, seriously, as authors, you either make no money or a whole lot. There's nowhere in between. But she's happier than ever. That's the shift that it takes to get there. And I think my personal belief is a lot of us need somebody on the outside to kick you in the butt to do that. I joke that I go back and forth between patting you on the back and kicking you in the butt, but I have no problem giving that tough love of like, listen, you're not happy? Change something. People are like, well, but I can't. Well, no, you can if you want to.
No, I love it. I love it. And you're right. People do need that encouragement. And no, it's almost like when you were talking about that and talking about the journey that people go through, I was listening to another podcast recently and they talked about survival mode, right? And all of us not even realizing, at least most people on this earth, that day to day you're kind of in survival mode. Hey, how do I get these bills paid? Hey, how do I, save up for that next vacation? Hey, how do I do this, do that, and things of that nature. But being able to connect with you and start to build to where you have a reserve, to where you have things taken care of so that you can get out of survival mode and really start to answer the question, hey, what would I do if I didn't have to, work 24/7 to kind of pay for the bills and the lifestyle? That's a hard one to answer. Like, even when you were asking that just now, it's like, man, I still constantly battle with that. I know, at a high level, hey, what I want my days to look like, but I couldn't answer in a concise sentence.
Well, the way I look at it, survival mode, we call it the rent and ramen phase. When you're
Rent and
just
ramen.
making enough money to cover rent and ramen, you're right, you're in survival mode. But then what happens is your mindset is stuck in rent and ramen. And you're like, oh, I got to struggle. And there's this thing called middle class work ethic, middle class guilt, Protestant work ethic. They're all like messing with our head. My parents always said, whatever you do, be the best at it. Well, it's hard to be the best and cut back work half time. Like it is. So you have to reprogram yourself. But once you get out of the rent and ramen stage, is then what do you want to do? The problem is what people do then is if they don't feel comfortable getting on the rent and ramen stage, they just up their rent or their housing or whatever else, or now they upgrade their ramen. And then they're still in the same struggle. I've had people where I go, listen, Sell that house you're in, downsize to half, and then quit your job. And they're like, what? I need this job to keep this house. I'm like, yes, you do. You know what you can do instead? Move. And they're like, well, but, but what? If you're going to be happier, do you need a 10,000 square foot house? I've had some people with some big houses. And I'm like, no, you don't. It's two of you. Downsize, move somewhere. I got people move other countries, whatever. Get a better quality of life and be happy. I call them recondoing your life. Get rid of the things that don't bring you joy and do more of the things that do.
It sounds so simple, but it is a tug of war. We appreciate the work that you're doing, Dr. J. And we're going to be opening this up to the rest of the group here soon to ask questions and things of that nature. But I had one more question before we do so. And that is, what are some of the goals that you're working on this year with your organization and other projects that you're working on that our audience could help you with?
Yeah, so right now, I spend half my time talking with child-free people about finance and half my time talking with financial people about being child-free. And here's the big one. And if you happen to know someone, you can definitely help. August 1st is International Child-Free Day. People don't know that exists, but it's just like Mother's Day and Father's Day. Turns out there's Child-Free Day. It's the 50th year. Originally, it was called Non-Parents Day. And for August 1st, we are actually sponsoring a billboard in Times Square to celebrate what it's like to be child-free. So we're doing that partially as an awareness, just to be like, hey, the day exists. But also just to go, you know what? To all the child-free people out there, you're being heard, you're being seen, you're being part of it. So right now I'm actually on the PR kick and all that, trying to, so if you happen to work for a TV station, want to do something. No, but like we're trying to get the word out there because it's one of those groups that I hate to say, but it's still okay to judge. I live in Mississippi. In Mississippi, in a post-war world, it is not cool to be child-free. I get people judging me all day long. Well, you know what? Maybe if we all got a point said, hey, August 1st, Child-Free Day. Yeah, I was jokingly, I was talking to the people that maintain Child-Free Day, and I said, you know what our goal really should be? Goal should be you go to CVS, you go to the Hallmark card section, and there's a card that says, Happy Child-Free Day. Now, that sounds silly, but that means a lot to people. And it's 25% of the U.S. That's the thing. It's not a small group. To give you an idea, the Michigan study, the same one, found 7.8% were LGBT. So we're triple the size. But nobody knows. We're like, I have people like hush tones. I'm child free too. I'm like, no. We should be able to be proud and be like, yep, child free. I'm not saying anyone should or shouldn't have kids. I'm not making any judgments. I'm just saying for me, kids aren't in the picture, and that's okay.
No, that is fair. That's an awesome goal. And I'm hoping that somebody listening can help with that and kind of push that forward for the August 1st. But we're going to open this up to other individuals to join. Please feel free to join via the chat and or hit the live call in to ask any questions of Dr. J. And AJ, welcome to the call, man.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
Super good. You got any
Solid.
questions for Dr. J?
I mean, yeah, I feel like I can ask quite a few different questions. I know the piece where you talked about you making, $1 million at the age of 21. That was definitely something that was like really interesting and crazy just to hear that. And I know $1 million was worth a lot more at that time frame, the late 90s and the early 2000s. So it's safe to say you were rolling in it at that age, but obviously, things happen, but you learn from it. So I think that helped you become the man that you are today. But you talked about a lot. And like I said, I do have a few different questions, but I think the first one is, you talked about, just having an overall control of your financial picture, and about like 80% is your behaviors. And then the 20% is more of like the numbers, which I resonate with that. And I definitely understand that. And I definitely agree with that. It definitely is about your mindset. But what do you say to the folks who have the behaviors down pat, but they may not necessarily be seeing the financial progress that they desire?
Okay. You talk about yourself, AJ? I got to call you out on it.
Yes.
Okay. What progress aren't you making?
Well, okay. So if we're talking about me specifically, I probably wouldn't want to say that I'm not making financial progress, but it's definitely coming like very slow, which, especially, with the investments that I have, especially in real estate, maybe it's just probably practicing a little more patience. That's my guess, but maybe I would like to hear your take on it, because I kind of would want to figure out what's like a realistic picture and I also probably have to define, what I truly believe is financial success to me a little more. So kind of want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yep. So keep in mind, the hardest thing is to get to zero net worth. Everything you own minus everything you owe. Zero means you broke even. That's the hard one. Getting from 0 to 100 is a little harder. I mean, a little easier than that. And then getting from 100 to a million is actually just time.
Mhm.
Now, let me ask you a question, AJ. Since you go in it, by the way, I should have warned you, I'm very direct. So if you're going to dig in, I'm going to dig in with you. How many goals do you have right now?
I'm not good at writing them down. I probably have them all up here. So I don't know a specific number, but probably quite a few.
Okay. That's part of the problem. Pick
Mhm.
one goal and be good at it. When you get to that goal, get to the next one. See, what happens is when people say they're not making progress, what I find is they're often doing a shotgun approach. They're doing 10 things at once and hoping one of them sticks. Reality check is do one, get good at it, then go to the next one. The problem is we're not wired that way. We need to find that 1, 2 goals to aim at, and you should be able to recite those at gunpoint. Like, these are my absolute goals. This is what I'm working on this now. This is where I'm going. And then keep that until you get there, or like it blows up. Now, if it blows up, you learn from it and you move forward. But if I said, AJ, what's your one goal? What do you want to achieve in the next year and a half? What is it?
The next year and a half, I want to be able to pay down. Definitely, I talked to my wife about this, but we definitely want to chop away at our debt for sure. So we've talked about that. If you ask me a year and a half, that's definitely
Okay,
something I've talked about.
cool. What are you willing to sell or do to do that?
Let's see. I don't know, pretty much. I mean, whatever it takes. Obviously, you'd have to look at my full financial picture, but I did recently just buy more real estate, doing a house hack in particular. So I've done that to
Mhm.
offset my monthly mortgage payment. I am in a nicer home, but it's still a sacrifice because I'm sharing walls with someone else. They're in the basement, but that's something I'm actively doing. But I'm always looking for ways to improve, right? So if there's anything else I can do, I'm looking for ways to, to kind of answer your question, like do whatever it takes in order to reach that goal.
So remember, getting out of debt is
Mhm.
not something you're going to do with investing. Paying down that debt is an investment. So if I pay off a credit card, I get a 20% tax-free, risk-free return. Not going to beat that in any investment. All right. That's a mindset shift. And the question becomes, what are you willing to do? So have you locked your credit cards yet?
How about what?
Locked your credit cards so you can't use them.
No.
Okay. That's your first step.
Mm,
So this is where I talk about that behaviors and mindset.
mm.
If you want to get out of debt, you have to make debt not a choice. If you lock your credit cards so you can't use them, guess what? You're going to do better. Because here's the thing. If you're trying to pay off your debt and you're still taking out more debt, you're filling a bucket with a hole in it. Lock your credit cards first. Then set a goal and say, hey, this is how much I'm going to pay every month towards the debt. If you say I'm going to pay off the debt with what's left over at the end of the month, you're going to pay nothing.
Right.
But you have to start with locking the credit cards. People go, well, but then how do I pay my bills? Guess what? Get on a budget and pay them. Go to
Right.
prepaid debit cards. Go to a different way. And what happens is all of these things add up. If your number one goal is get out of debt in the next 18 months, cool. That's where everything goes. Nothing else is a priority except getting out of debt.
You're
That's the
absolutely
hard part, is because we want more, but you have to get out of debt to get to the next step.
exactly. Yeah.
And to that point,
Go ahead.
you're spot on when go ahead. You're
Oh, I'm
spot
sorry.
on when
I
you
was
talk
like,
about
go
that. I can tell you, sure. When I just got out of college, I got an opportunity to work at the healthcare company, and they moved me to Chicago. And let me just say, Chicago's an awesome city. All right, it's not the best when you don't have money like that. So I was spending just about everything going out each weekend, and I'd wake up, in the morning, and I'd look at my credit card statement, like, hold up, how'd I spend X amount? And so even then, what I started to do is actually just take out cash and
Mm-hmm.
leave my card at home, and that cut down tremendously. If you bring out cash, once the cash is gone, it's like, all right, there you go. I got to get out of here, right? Type of deal. And so it helped tremendously. So I like what you're talking about, which is focusing in on one thing. But it brings up a question. I see there's a
Mm-hmm.
couple questions in chat and a couple other questions too. Are you in the Dave Ramsey boat or the Grant Cardone boat or somewhere in between when it talks about, getting out of debt versus buying investments that over a 10-year period could grow tremendously?
Here's my thing. I'm a no debt person in general, but here's the thing. I don't care which plan you follow as long as you follow one. You can't follow Cardone and Ramsey at the same time. But people do this. They get advice on the internet and mix recipes. I joke that you're making a brownie and brisket at the same time. You can't. If you're going to go to the Cardone 10X, do it. But then don't try to get out of debt. He would smack you for that. Okay? You can't mix them. I happen to think no debt's the way to go. I happen to think if you're going to do real estate, buy it in cash. But that's my philosophy. That doesn't mean it has to be yours. Whatever recipe you follow, you have to follow just one. That's the challenge. Is we get into ooh, this one looks better. Ooh, this, you're going to get nothing done. Pick one and stick to it.
True. And we got 2 questions in the chat. One is around the disability insurance. So disability insurance being important to child-free couples was new for me. How can you leverage disability insurance as a child-free couple?
I think 2 things. One, keep in mind that 32.1% of childless people or child-free will never be married. Large percentage are single. Now, they might have a couple, but not legally married. If you're single and you get injured, you're screwed. Social Security disability pays like $1,000 a year. It's a little more than that. $1,000 a month. It's a little more than that, but it's very little. So if you don't have disability insurance, you're out of luck. And people go, well, I'm young. I'm fine. Yeah, and then you trip and fall. Next thing you know, you can't work, or you had a stroke. It's more of protecting your wealth, because look at it this way: if you're in your 30s or 40s and you're disabled and you can't work for the next 25 years of your life until you can go full Social Security, you're not going to have much of a life. That disability insurance has to be there. And if you're going to run your own business, you need to get your own disability policy, which is going to cost money. The way to save money on that, by the way, is to find the National Association of something that you can be a member of and get a group policy. That tends to be cheaper. But look at it this way. If you don't have that disability insurance, can you live for the rest of your life without the income? If the answer is yes, cool. But most people are going to say, hold on. That's a different argument.
That's true. That's 100% true. And we got a lot more coming in, but want to kick it over to Dwayne. How you doing, man? Welcome.
Hey guys, how y'all doing? Hey, Dr. J, how you doing?
Good. I obviously did not get the memo on which shirt to wear today.
No problem. But yeah, when I was listening to you earlier, you were saying that I might misquote this, but you said 2.5% of people who don't have kids, you said they get taken care of, but people who do have kids, only 1.5 of them get taken care of in their older age.
Yep. Parents get less financial support than child-free folks.
Okay, so I'm kind of I like statistics a little bit, but because I'm from the Caribbean, and I'm interested to know do you have demographics? Is that like Americans, or is that because where I'm from, usually, I feel as if a hefty percent of the culture is by the time your parents is a certain age, they're living with you, they're in the upstairs of the house, so I just wanted to know if you had, I guess, demographics on that particular statistic.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat. It's a U.S. statistic from Census. So here's the thing. You are right. Culture matters on this. So I was having a great conversation with somebody from India. And in their culture, you just live in the family compound and, kids. But when you don't have kids, it completely destroys the whole system.
Okay.
Now, that's a reality check. In the U.S., unfortunately, even with cultural components, it's not great care that you're getting. And if you need money, you might be on your own.
Gotcha.
We in the U.S. do a terrible job of taking care of our elderly folks. And people go, oh, the boomers are going to pass down money. BS, because the boomers are going to pay for their health care is what they're going to be doing.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
It's true. No, shifting gears. Desmond, welcome.
Hey, man. What's up? How's it going?
Super good. Did you have any questions for our guy, Dr. J?
Yeah, Dr. J, first, thanks so much for, what you shared. It was definitely super helpful and super insightful. I think I did have one question in terms of kind of supercharging, and I think on the Grant Cardone mindset, and kind of, supercharging and really kind of 10xing the wealth, right? And not even necessarily related to real estate, but just, kind of really going forward, right, and progressing your wealth, right? What strategies do you suggest, aside from kind of what we've talked about today, for child-free folks, whether they be, single or married, whatever it might be? Do you have any kind of ideas there on how to really, even for younger folks, jump in, right, head first and go for it?
Yeah, I think my take on it is I flip the script a little bit. So what I say to child-free folks is first figure out what life you want to live, then figure out your finances, then figure out your taxes. what happens is in the 10X mindset, your goal is more money, more numbers. But here's the thing. All the data says when you get to the big numbers, it doesn't make you happier. Now, the scoreboard is run up. You're happy about that, but then what? And that's where I challenge people to say, okay, rather than investing, I'm just going to pick on real estate because that's where we are. Rather than investing in real estate is an option for child-free people, not a requirement. And if you're going to rent out a place, we can have a separate discussion on buying a REIT versus property. We can discuss that. But here's the thing. What about investing in yourself instead? So Desmond, I'm going to pick on you like I picked on AJ, and I do it with love. Desmond, what's the thing you need to invest in yourself today on?
The thing I need to invest in myself today on. Well, not even related to wealth or real estate or anything, is stop biting my nails, man. My girlfriend gets on me so much. That's one thing I need to invest on. So I've got the nail bite, like fingernail polish on. So, I'm trying to invest in myself. That's the first start, right? It's definitely got me a couple of times. That's, wealth aside. But in terms of, maybe real estate or, on that aspect, I'd say putting the fear aside, right, and not being scared on, reaching out to more landlords, right? So I'm trying to grow in like the Airbnb and arbitrage. I've talked about it a little bit. I've got one set up and it's going decently. It's running though. It's up and running. And now I'm trying to, 10x that and move that forward. And I want to not be, hesitant and not get too comfortable or get too stagnant in just having the one, right? So maybe that's one way I could kind of challenge myself or at least invest in, something I've got going on now.
And that's where I would argue what you just told me was what you need to invest in is building your own confidence and lowering your stress, because biting nails and stress go together. Now, the question is then who can help you? And there's a variety of people that can help you on that. But here's the thing. Investing in that today will have a better outcome 10 years from now than investing in another property.
Yeah.
The way I say it is everybody needs three people in their life. They need a therapist to look back, a spiritual person to look up, and a coach to look forward. And at different points in your life, you need different ones of those or combos of it. And whichever one of those three you like working with, you need the other one. Because, if you love working on the therapy side, you need a coach. You love working on the coach, you need a therapy, whatever it is. But you could work on your mindset, your life, your approach, and the result then would be you have no fear to reach out to landlords or others. You'd have embraced it.
Yeah.
If you treat, rather than treating the symptoms, we treat the disease. Nail biting is a symptom. The disease is stress, confidence. Okay? So you ask me how you 10X it, fix that first. The rest will be easy.
I'm trying. It's tough. I'm trying. But no, I hear you though. Thank you.
Well, hold on, Desmond. You're trying, but who's helping you?
My girlfriend's been helping me. She's good at
girlfriend doesn't
smacking my hand. All right.
Here's the answer. The way we say in coaching is you cannot coach or be coached by anyone you've seen naked or they've seen you naked. So no family, no girlfriends, no, because you hear it differently.
That's funny. Yeah.
Okay.
I hear you. Okay.
When you get into these mastermind groups, they're great. The hard part is then you don't get the personal, kick in the butt you may need. That's why I talk about that mindset around money is so much more important. It's like building a house with a crappy foundation if you don't get your mindset right.
Yeah. For sure. Thank you.
100% true. No. And what you said actually kind of brings me back when you talk about like learning skills and kind of building that piece. Mark Cuban said it best. He said, hey, if you can learn how to sell, you'll always have a job. And I took that to heart years ago. And so like one of my first jobs was Cutco sales, like not door-to-door knife sales. Right. And I did that so I can get into the corporations and things of that nature down the road. And now that's a skill I have forever. Like they say, hey, cold call. It's like, dude, I can do that all day. Right. It's fine. But back then it wasn't fine. Right. But you learn that skill and it kind of carries with you for forever. We have another question in the chat. So, and this is something I do, by the way. So take it easy on me, Dr.
I'm good.
But so you would not suggest using credit cards and then paying it off at the end of the month to get the points?
So here, let me talk about the points game for a second. Two different parts. If you're in debt, you don't play the points game. You're paying for the damn points. That being said, my wife and she flew to China free, on points, and I've played the game. Here's how I do it. I pay off my credit cards every week. Because here's the thing. If you're paying it off every week, you'll see what you spent. If you wait till the end of the month, that's when you get in trouble. Now, by the way, there's a couple of credit card companies that won't let you pay every week. That annoys me. But I always have a zero balance. Yeah, fine. But then don't pay the annual fees for the points either, because you're buying the points again. You see all these travel hacking, all that, and you do the math. And the question I want you to get to is the return on hassle. Is the return there? I don't know. That's the kind of the balance there. I'm okay. Here's the thing. The analogy I make is, so I always struggle with my weight, just is. If I buy a bag of Doritos, I'm down on the bag of Doritos. So guess what? I don't buy the bag of Doritos. If you have trouble with debt, you don't use credit cards. Once you got a good handle on it, you can pay it off every week, fine. Here's the thing. If you're going to do that, if you're going to go down that path, I actually prefer you set a budget, put it on a prepaid debit card, and then like put it on Amazon. Amazon's my bad habit. Like I just order way too much on Amazon. And I'm in the middle of nowhere, Mississippi, so it takes a couple of days to get the packages. And I'll have some show up and I have no clue what's in it. That's a bad sign. But you can put a prepaid debit card on Amazon, and just like the Chicago example, when you run out of money, you're done buying. The credit card keeps running up. I get people, well, I bought my toilet paper on Amazon. It's all groceries. No, it's not. You bought a whole bunch of other crap that you don't need. It's kind of like the people that say, oh, I bought it at Costco, but you also bought a kayak there, okay? Costco is not groceries if you bought a kayak.
No, that's fair. And that is
Some of you are
true.
laughing because I hit you a little too hard on that one.
The Amazon piece, I mean, I'm looking at 2 boxes over here that I need to return. So, hey, the Amazon piece is definitely me. but no, any other questions for Dr. J from the chat and or from anybody that's on live?
It sounded like he had to get a little something off his chest with that one.
You know what? I realized a long time ago that money, the way you can make money accessible to people is humor, humility, and vulnerability. If you can be like, hey, I screw up too, and here's what I've learned, it makes it there. You get too preachy on it, people start turning you out.
For sure. I agree with you 100%, especially when it comes to the credit card stuff. Like, really, I don't play around with that too much. And when I said debt earlier, I was more so speaking in terms of student loan debt. The credit cards, I use them like cash. I know you said you pay them off weekly. Funny thing, I actually pay them off daily. So like as soon as I spend them, I have a spreadsheet and I literally go and pay it like it's cash. So I spend $7 at the grocery store grabbing like, some vegetables or something. I boom, go to the spreadsheet. I'm literally paying that off cash. So, but I definitely agree with you. The credit card stuff is definitely can get you with the interest rates and everything. It can get you in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and the student loans, and keep in mind for anyone watching this, we're in July of 2023. It could have changed like tomorrow. AJ, the answer for you, if you haven't gotten in there, you need to get enrolled in the repay program with the new save program. The new program, the way that program works is it stops interest from growing on your student loans, which is just like awesome. And right now it's got a phase, but in the end, your undergrad loans will be 5% of your discretionary income. Your graduates will be up to 10. But what you can do then is play some games. This is when you leverage like your traditional 401k to put money away, lowers down your income. It'll lower down your income payment. And depending on how much student loan you have, it's forgiven in 20, 25 years. Downside is that comes with a tax bill at the end. But the way I'm looking at it now is if you're in that SAVE program, that's taken care of. Now, you've just agreed to pay it off for 20 years, but the interest isn't growing. So if you change your mind later, you can be like, yeah, I just sold this house and made a whole bunch of money. Let me just get rid of this loan and get rid of it. But this new SAVE program, got to get enrolled in that.
Where do you go to for that? Is that website? That's pretty good.
Hold on, I'll get you the link as we're talking. So, what was it? They haven't put out the full details, but they're like, hey, if you get in a repay program, we'll get you in the SAVE one in a second. No, how come?
That's pretty incredible.
So you have to, it's a weird math equation. They take percentage of discretionary income, all that fun stuff, how many people in the family. But the bottom line is because the interest stops, get in the program. And even if you got to pay a higher payment because you got a high income, the interest has stopped.
Yeah, that interest is a killer.
True.
With student loans being 6-7% interest, that's going to double every 10 years ish.
And Dr. J, we have 2 more questions in the chat for you, and then we will wrap it up. But the first question is, Dr. J, I am totally at the point where I know that no job can really make me rich, but I am also trying to do as many things possible, hoping the door stays open to reach my 10-year goal. How do you advise making money without taking loans if you don't have a tech product to sell, family inheritance, real estate look like the easy way out, which is to take bank loans?
Yeah. So the first thing is you got to get real on how much money you really need. That's one of those kind of like when people say rich or I need money, I go, to what? And what are you willing to do for it? Because that's the second part of the question. You say, hey, I don't have tech, blah, blah, blah. Well, then learn. So I'll give you an example of this. In my local community, they launched a boot camp for adults over 21 to become coders in, I think it's like, whatever, 6 to 8 weeks, something like that. Completely paid for by the government. Free certification to become a coder, boot camp. If you say, well, I don't have tech, you can go learn. That's where I'm arguing about investing in yourself. Whether it's time, effort, whatever you need to do that. The question is, do you need to skill up to do that? So people go to real estate because they say, well, I understand real estate. Well, the thing about real estate to keep in mind is that the debt from real estate, you're taking on more risk. You just are. And as long as real estate keeps going up, you're okay. I mean, I'm good with that. But here's the thing. It doesn't always go up. And some weird stuff might happen in the area you're serving. All of a sudden you're in a hot place and then the local, whatever, Amazon moves out of there. I'm just going to keep picking on Amazon. And all of a sudden home values plummet. Or, I lived in the Northeast and we had some areas that got hit by storms bad enough the insurance company's like, yep, I'll replace the house once, but I'll never replace it again. What did that just do to the home value? Cratered it. So those things happen without your control. When you take out the loans for real estate, you're passing on some of the risks to the bank, but you're also taking on you. That's the hard part, is putting a number around that risk. It's almost impossible. So the question is, if you want in 10-year goals, okay, what do I need to learn? What do I need to grow so that I can do that? Start a business, start a job, whatever it is. What my recommendation to people is, go find somebody you want to be, ask them how they got there, and ask them if they would do it again. Don't be surprised when they tell you no. Like if you ask a medical doctor, hey, would you do it again? They'll say no. They would go be like a PA and make just almost as much money with half the schooling, and have no malpractice or any of that. Go find that person and make them your mentor. Learn how to do it. Go do the stuff you don't want to do. Go make them the coffee forever and learn how to do it and keep going. That's the hard part, is getting past these roadblocks. Because what you got in the chat is you said, hey, I don't have tech, I don't have family inheritance. You can't change the family inheritance. But I don't have tech. Okay, well, let's learn. You want to go sell a tech product? Go ahead. You want to go sell downloads? You want to be an influencer? I don't care. Learn. And then be the best at it.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And that's the key. Literally, there's a book called So Good They Can't Ignore You, right? And it's all about what you just said, being the best at whatever occupation you're doing, to the point where, you're in that top 20% and you're able to really kind of make that high income.
Let me give you one example. I know we're going
to
mess up time, but one of my favorite. So I was selling, for a while, I had a maple syrup farm. Why? Because I just was my midlife crisis. So I was selling firewood. This guy comes to pick up firewood, and I look at his truck. He's got a welding truck. And I was talking to him, I'm like, what do you do? What he does is he just goes site to site and welds dumpsters. Doesn't have to be pretty. Just has to be watertight. But he just goes site to site doing that. He explained to me he cannot find enough people to do the job. He's out there busting his butt. He's making $200,000 a year welding dumpsters. Why? Because nobody wants to do it. It's that old dirty job routine. But he just goes place to place and place. You can learn that skill. You can do that. And by the way, he's trying to find employees to help. Then he can, essentially franchise it out. But brilliant. Find something nobody wants to do. Be the best at it. He welds dumpsters and makes huge money. You never would have thought of that, but every time you walk around, you're going to see a dumpster now. It's got a hole. He's the one fixing it.
It's true. It's true. And more, we're moving into all this brain work. So like anything you can do physically, like plumber, electrician, my landscaper, he cuts. So, and Jay, I don't think we talked about this at the top, but I own a management company that manages about 20 short-term rentals around Metro Atlanta. And the landscaper that cuts all these makes multiple six figures each year. Now it's a lot. It's crazy, but he's running around all the time, but he's doing it. He's definitely doing it.
If you're willing to work hard, you can make money. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. Not at all. The difference between success and failure, and this is kind of cliche, but go with it, is if you fail, get back up and do it again. And the faster you get up determines your success. Make mistakes, learn from them, pay the stupid tax, move forward. So I only have one skill. My skill is in learning. Now, I happen to be able to help people learn and learn myself. I can learn just about anything. That means if the environment changes, AI takes over, okay, I'll learn something else, do something else. On average, people in this room will have about 7 significant career changes in their life. The one thing that'll help you through all 7, learn how to learn. Learn how you learn. Learn how to get up and keep going.
Dr. J, that's a word, man. That's a word that we're gonna end this on. And I just want to ask, how can people get in contact with you for coaching, to get your books, and really to learn more about child-free wealth?
Yep. So I'm boring. Childfreewealth.com, Instagram, Child Free Wealth. We've also got the Child Free Wealth podcast. Happy to help you. If you have questions, you can always send me an email. And I live by the Zig Ziglar of you can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. I just all right, let me go help a whole lot of people. And you know what? It'll come around. So don't be afraid to reach out.
Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. We truly appreciate it. And we look forward to hearing more about this child-free wealth. And I'll definitely be checking out the podcast as well as the book here very soon.
Definitely. Thanks a lot, Dr. Jake.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.